the impact of Trump versus Illinois. So the Supreme Court sided with Illinois in saying that Donald Trump cannot deploy and federalize the National Guard in Illinois because he had not met the preconditions of the statute, and the preconditions being that he was unable to execute the laws by use of the regular forces, and the court interpreted the regular forces to mean the military and not the ICE and other DHS personnel that Donald Trump asserted were the regular forces. So it makes it much more difficult for Donald Trump to use this method to go after and deploy the National Guard in the various states. Remember, this is Supreme Court interim order on an interlocutory appeal, which means that the case has just been introduced. The actual substantive case has not been has not gone through the entire process, and there has not been a determination of fact and a ruling on the substance and merits of the case. This is simply the federal court, district court, stopping Donald Trump from deploying the guard, and then the appellate court affirming the district court's order, and then the Supreme Court saying, no, you have not met the precondition, Mr. President. You cannot deploy the National Guard or federalize it because you don't meet the precondition of being unable to execute the laws with the regular forces, meaning your military forces. So Donald Trump has to use his inherent authority on the basis of some law that allows him to come in and police states. And he has not invoked that law, such a law yet. Such a law is the Insurrection Act, which is an express exception to the Posse Comitatus Act. But that also requires preconditions that Donald Trump does not meet, which is rebellion or insurrection. And there are parts of 12406 that talk about rebellion as well, and Donald Trump has not met that requirement to be able to, use the authority of the presidency to be able to mobilize the National Guard without having moved the military to execute the laws and having been unable to do so. So it kind of hamstrings Donald Trump throughout the nation. In any case, National Guard case that is currently pending, it really stops Donald Trump from deploying the National Guard if he has used this methodology of 12406 to be his authority to deploy the National Guard. It applies now to all the circuits. It applies now to all the jurisdiction because the Supreme Court made this ruling. The Supreme Court didn't restrict this ruling to only this case. The Supreme Court said that in this case, in this argument, the government has failed to meet the burden of proof. And that goes to all of the other cases that Donald Trump has against him from the various states of deployment of National Guard, whether that be California or Oregon or any of the other states where they are contesting National Guard being on the streets. So this applies to the whole country. That's what the impact of this ruling is. And that's why I find it to be important, because although it is an interim ruling on an interlocutory appeal stopping the deployment of the National Guard while the case continues, this ruling effectively stops Donald Trump from overreaching into state power without having any sort of authority to base his power upon. Now, the dissent disagrees. The dissent thinks that the federal policing power vested in the president is far enough for him to be able to federalize the Guard, but that's not what the majority said. So thank you for listening. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.